Peoples of the worldwide federated internet. What's good? Got some more to talk about. So I've been mentioning this video that I have of Patrice Cullors, one of the creators of the BLM movement, admitting that her and one of the other creators is a trained Marxist. And I've been kind of holding off on talking about it in depth or showing the video. My other Instagram page, for those of you who know, got deleted. Again, I'm going to start this video by saying, go follow me on Minds. That's an app, MINDS. My screen name is Brook Nam. Also, go follow me on Parlay. I call it Parler because it's spelled Parler, another app. And I'm Brook Nam on that as well. My videos are also being uploaded to BitChute. Look up Brook Nam there as well. Reason I say all of that, I have no idea why Instagram deleted my other page. Just going over things in my head, trying to figure out what they did. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm trying to mitigate that from happening to this page. And I'm taking every precaution I possibly can in order to mitigate that. So with that being said, I did something here. One of the videos I posted on my previous Instagram page, which is actually still up on YouTube, I discussed George Soros and I shared a video. Now, I know these platforms, they look for every way they can to strong arm voices that are not in lockstep in agreement with whatever they say. So I have taken what I believe is the proper precautions, and I have read the fair use law or a fair use part of the U.S. copyright law, and I'm going to read that here for you. I downloaded the U.S. copyright law, so if any of the YouTube or Facebook technocrat overlords are watching, understand I'm going to explain to you, in case you are confused, that what I'm doing is covered under fair use. So let's get to that. If you download the U.S. copyright law, the fair use part of that law is section 107. So I'm going to read the first part of section 107, and you'll see how this applies. It says, notwithstanding the provisions of sections 106 and 106A, the fair use of a copyrighted work, including such use by reproduction in copies or phonorecords or by any means specified by that section for purposes such as criticism, which I am going to criticize Ms. Cullors from this video that I'm going to post. Comment, I am going to comment. News reporting, I'm not a reporter. Teaching, I am going to teach something from the Communist Manifesto in reference to what she's saying, including multiple copies for classroom use, scholarship, or research. This video also can be used for research, is not an infringement of copyright. So I just wanted to get that out the way for the YouTube and Facebook technocrat overlords that might be watching this video. So if you delete this video or disable my channel because of this video, I actually do have legal recourse because I just went over the Fair Use Act. I am commenting and criticizing what she is saying in this video. So I want you to hear her in her own words.
He was concerned, or is concerned, that that there's a lack of perhaps ideological direction in Black Lives Matter that would allow it to be to fizzle out, in, as he said, in comparison to Occupy Wall Street. As you are advanced in your own organization, as you all are headed to Cleveland to participate in this Black Lives Movement conference, how do you respond to that particular critique? Again, a loving critique from an elder of the struggle that some others share, that I've even shared as well, to be frank, as a concern about, in part because of the co-optation and the appropriation, that a more clear ideological structuring might be of some value here. But how do you respond to those kinds of, again, loving criticisms?
I think that the criticism is helpful. I also think that it might. I think of a lot of things. The first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists. We are super versed on sort of ideological theories.
You saw it. She said it. She is a trained Marxist, her and her counterpart. Why does that matter? This is the Communist Manifesto. This is by Karl Marx. If you want to know what Marxists believe, this is the book you need to read. So I'm going to read you off something. Now, mind you, I'm going to tell you something. There has been a concerted effort to move the United States in this direction over the course of many years. And when I read off some of these tenets of communism, you are going to notice that we have already applied some of these things in the US. Couple that with what she said, they're trained Marxists, their organization is trained Marxists. This should terrify you. I want people to be terrified. And the reason I want people to be terrified, I'm not a fear monger, right? I don't get into that. But I think sometimes people don't pay attention to what's going on, and they don't have a healthy and proper fear for what actions are being taken by certain people, right? Like, I'm not saying we need to be walking around cowering and in total despair, but you should have enough common sense to know what's going on, and that should scare you to action. You should pay attention to what's going on in politics because this matters. So this is from the Communist Manifesto. I'm going to read you off something. It says, nevertheless, in most advanced countries, the following will be pretty generally applicable. The abolition of property and land and application of all rents of land to public purposes. A heavy, progressive, and graduated income tax. Does that sound familiar? How do you think that got started in the United States? Where do you think that idea came from? Abolition of all rights of inheritance. You good with that? Confiscation of the property of all immigrants and rebels. I wonder who they would consider rebels. Surely people who disagreed with them. Centralization of credit in the hands of the state by means of a national bank with state capital and an exclusive monopoly. That sound familiar to you? Where do you think these ideas came from? How do you think these things got started in the United States? Centralization of the means of communication and transport in the hands of the state. Extension of factories and instruments of production owned by the state. The bringing into cultivation of wastelands, and the improvement of the soil generally in accordance with a common plan, my bad. Equal liability of all to labor, establishment of industrial armies, especially for agriculture, combination of agriculture with manufacturing industries, gradual abolition of the distinction between town and country, by a more equitable equable distribution of the population over the country, free education for all children in public schools, abolition of children's factory labor in its present form, combination of education with industrial production. I don't know about you, but none of that dystopian ideology right there do I want to see in the US. Now, some of it we've already seen, and I explained that as I was going. That should cause you to pay attention. Do you know how some of these things were enacted? Because the citizenry was asleep at the wheel and not paying attention. That's exactly how some of this stuff came to pass. People were asleep at the wheel, weren't paying attention, thinking, oh, it'll never happen. We'll never get there. If you think it can't happen, that's when it will happen. Look at all that. The goal of a Marxist is to give complete control to the state, which is hilariously ironic because when you look at most of these BLM and Antifa protesters, they're protesting and arguing as though this is already in place. The fact that they have the freedom to do what they're doing, it is mind-boggling that they don't see what's going on. This is not to disparage anybody maliciously, but I'm being completely honest when I tell you these people are literally being useful idiots. They are being the blunt object and the useful tool of powers behind the scenes that will have them be slaves as soon as they get to their intended goal. When I read any of that from this Communist Manifesto, is this anything any of you want? Because if it's not, we need to pay attention before we no longer have a union, before we become the USSA. I don't want that. Not only do I not want that for me, I don't want that for my children, nor my grandchildren if God allows me to have them. And again, I say to you, these are things that we definitely need to pay attention to. And for anyone attaching yourself to the BLM movement because you feel sympathetic to a cause, they've pulled on your heartstrings, look, what they're selling you is nonsense. What they're selling you is not what you're going to get when you open that box. They're selling you diamonds. You're going to get that package in the mail, and what you're going to open is going to be a lump of coal. And you're going to have a lot of buyer's remorse. Stay frosty, people.